My name is Nancy Sanchez. I'm 32 years old, and I used to believe that if you worked hard enough, loved deeply enough, and gave enough of yourself, things would naturally work out. I was wrong. I'm a senior project manager for one of the largest commercial construction firms in Chicago. I've been in the industry for 11 years, started from the ground up, literally. Steel-toe boots, hauling materials, learning every inch of the job before I ever stepped into an office. By the time I turned 30, I was managing multi-million-dollar projects, overseeing entire crews, making decisions that could cost, or save, hundreds of thousands in a single day. I was strong, capable, reliable, the kind of woman people leaned on. And maybe that's exactly why I didn't notice when someone started leaning on me without ever planning to stand on his own. His name was Paul. We'd been together for 2 years. I met him at a mutual friend's birthday party. He had this relaxed confidence like nothing in the world could really shake him. He made me laugh. Really laugh. The kind that makes your chest hurt and your eyes water. Back then, that felt like enough. He worked as a receptionist at a dental office. Made modest money, but I didn't care. I wasn't looking for someone to match my income. I was looking for someone to match my effort. At least, I thought I was. The first 6 months? Perfect. He'd text me good morning every day, ask about my meetings, bring me coffee without being asked, stay up late just to talk, even when I knew he had work early the next morning. I thought I had found someone who chose me. Then slowly, almost invisibly, things shifted. It started with complaints. "You work too much, Nancy. You're always tired. My friend's boyfriend actually makes time for her." I told myself it was normal. Relationships take adjustment, right? So I adjusted. I pushed through exhaustion to go out with him. I cut back on overtime when I could. I tried to be more present, but it was never enough. Then came the money. First, his car. He hated the old one he had, said it made him feel stuck. One weekend, we went to just look at cars. He fell in love with a brand new SUV. Fully loaded, way outside his budget. He couldn't get approved on his own. So I co-signed. At first, he made the payments. Then, he fell behind. Then I covered 1 month, then another, then all of them. "Just until I get back on my feet," he'd say, smiling like it was temporary. It wasn't. After that, it snowballed. The apartment? Mine. The lease? My name. The $2,400 monthly rent? Me. Groceries, insurance, furniture. Even the stupidly expensive designer bag he begged for one Christmas. I paid for that too. I told myself I was building a life. Looking back, I was financing one. My best friend, Danielle, saw it long before I did. She never trusted Paul. She'd come over and watch him sit on the couch scrolling through his phone while I cooked dinner after a 12-hour shift. Watch him complain about being stressed, while packages stacked up at the door. One night, after he criticized the restaurant I picked for his birthday, said it wasn't really his vibe, Danielle pulled me aside. "Nancy," she said quietly, "that man has luxury expectations on borrowed effort." I laughed. Told her she was exaggerating. She didn't laugh back. "You're building something real," she said. "He's just living in it." I didn't want to hear it, because deep down, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to face it. Everything came crashing down on March 14th, a Tuesday. We were 3 weeks away from completing a 12-story mixed-use building downtown. Nearly $50 million. My project? My reputation. My future. I was on the 8th floor doing a routine walkthrough with a structural engineer when I heard it. A sharp metallic snap. The kind of sound that doesn't belong. The kind that makes your body react before your mind catches up. I looked up and saw it. A steel beam. 4 tons of solid weight swinging loose from a crane cable like a pendulum. There was no time to think. I shoved the engineer beside me as hard as I could. And then, everything hit at once. The beam slammed into me, pinning me against a concrete pillar. The force crushed the air out of my lungs. I heard the crack before I felt it. My ribs. Then my leg twisted beneath me at an angle so wrong it didn't even register as pain at first. For a second, there was silence. Then the pain exploded. Blinding. Total. Consuming. And then, darkness. When I woke up, I was in the ICU. Machines surrounded me. Tubes ran in and out of my body. My chest felt like it had been wrapped in barbed wire. A doctor stood beside me, explaining things in a calm, measured tone. 4 broken ribs, a shattered tibia, internal bleeding. They weren't even sure if my spleen would survive. "You're lucky," he said. Lucky. I couldn't even turn my head without pain tearing through me. Paul showed up about 4 hours later. He looked fine. Not shaken, not scared. Just mildly inconvenienced. He sat beside my bed, scrolling through his phone for what felt like forever before finally glancing at me. "If you're just going to sleep," he said casually, "I could be doing something useful instead." For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. I tried to sit up. Pain exploded through my ribs so violently that my vision went white. I collapsed back, gasping, gripping the bedrail. "Useful?" I whispered. He sighed, like I was the difficult one. "Nancy, I've been here for hours, and Olivia is falling apart." Olivia, his ex-girlfriend. Of course. "She just went through a breakup," he continued. "She's been crying nonstop. We already planned this trip, and honestly, she really needs it." My head felt heavy, slow. "Trip?" I repeated. "It's not just a trip," he said quickly. "It's like a mental reset. Cabo. We paid $3,000 each. It's non-refundable." I stared at him, at the man standing beside my ICU bed, the man I had built a life around. "You're leaving?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. "Don't make this about money." A hollow laugh escaped my throat, scraping like broken glass. "I'm in the ICU, Paul," I said slowly. "I have a tube in my chest. They're not even sure if I'm going to keep my spleen. And you're talking about a vacation." "I can't fix your injuries by sitting here," he snapped. "You're stable. The doctor said so." Stable. That word hit harder than the accident. "So that's it?" I asked quietly. "You're choosing a beach over me?" "It's 1 week," he said defensively. "You'll be fine." "Fine." He stood up, smoothing his shirt like he had somewhere better to be. "I'll be back before you're discharged," he added. "Try not to be dramatic." Then he leaned down, pressed a quick, emotionless kiss to my forehead, and walked out. No hesitation. No second glance. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. And just like that, the room felt colder, bigger, empty. I stared at the ceiling, unable to move, listening to the steady rhythm of machines keeping track of a body that felt like it wasn't mine anymore. Something inside me shifted in that moment. The pain wasn't just physical anymore. It was clarity. Sharp. Unforgiving. I wasn't his partner. I wasn't his priority. I was convenient. A safety net he assumed would always be there. And lying there, broken in ways I couldn't even fully understand yet, I realized something else. He hadn't just left me. He had shown me exactly who he was. And sooner or later, he was going to learn exactly who I was. Hospitals at night have a way of stripping everything down to the truth. There's no distractions. No noise except the steady beeping of machines tracking whether your body is still doing what it's supposed to do. No one pretending. No one performing. Just you. And whatever reality you've been avoiding. The first night after Paul left, I didn't sleep. Not really. Every time I drifted off, the pain would pull me back. Sharp. Relentless. Like my body was reminding me of every fracture, every tear, every place that had been broken. But the physical pain wasn't the worst part. It was the silence, the absence, the space where someone who was supposed to love me should have been. I kept picking up my phone, typing messages, deleting them. "Did you land safe?" Deleted. "I'm in a lot of pain." Deleted. "Why did you leave me?" I stared at that one the longest. Then I deleted it too. I wasn't going to beg someone to care about me. Not anymore. Around midnight, I made the mistake people always make when they're hurting. I opened social media. I told myself I just wanted a distraction. What I found instead was confirmation. A video, posted by Olivia. 2 drinks clinking together against a sunset so perfect it didn't look real. Pink skies melting into deep blue water. Laughter in the background. Paul's hand in the frame. I recognized the bracelet instantly. I bought it for him. The caption read, "Healing era starts now. Cabo, no drama." I stared at the screen until it blurred. My chest tightened, not from the broken ribs this time, but from something deeper, more permanent. I dropped the phone. It slipped from my hand and hit the floor. I couldn't reach it. I couldn't even sit up without feeling like my body was tearing itself apart. So I just lay there, staring at it on the ground, helpless. And for the first time in years, I felt completely alone. A nurse came in around 2 a.m. Her name tag read, Brenda. She had that presence some people in healthcare develop. Calm, steady, like nothing surprises them anymore. She glanced at the monitors, then at me. "Pain level?" she asked. "Manageable," I lied. She adjusted something on my IV, then noticed the phone on the floor. Without a word, she walked over, picked it up, and placed it within my reach. Her eyes lingered on me for a second longer than necessary. "Boyfriend step out?" she asked. I let out a quiet breath. He had somewhere more important to be. She didn't react right away, just nodded slowly, like she already understood. "That tells you everything you need to know," she said. Simple, direct, and somehow, exactly what I needed to hear. By morning, I made a decision. Not a dramatic one, not loud, just clear. I wasn't going to do this alone if I didn't have to. There was one person I trusted to show up. So I called Danielle. She answered on the first ring. "Nancy?" Her voice changed immediately when she heard mine. "I'm at Northwestern," I said. "ICU." There was a pause. A sharp inhale. "What happened?" "Construction accident." Another pause. "Where's Paul?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Her silence told me she already knew. "I'm on my way," she said. No hesitation. No questions. Just action. Danielle walked into my hospital room 2 hours later like a storm that had been holding itself together just long enough to get to me. She stopped when she saw me. Really saw me. The tubes. The cast. The bruising. Her eyes filled instantly. But she blinked it away, forcing herself to stay steady. "Hey," she said softly, walking over. "Hey." She didn't sit, didn't scroll, didn't check her phone. She just stood there, holding my hand carefully, like I might break again if she wasn't gentle enough. "What do you need?" she asked. That question alone nearly broke me, because it had been so long since anyone had asked it, and meant it. Danielle stayed, all day, and the next, and the next. She coordinated with the nurses, took notes when doctors came in, asked questions I didn't even think to ask. Meanwhile, Paul sent texts, short, light, detached. "Hope you're feeling better. Food okay? Service here is bad." Might not reply. I stopped answering after the second day, not out of anger, but because there was nothing left to say. On the 4th day, the doctor came in with updates. "Your ribs are healing well," he said. "No surgery needed for the spleen. The bleeding stabilized." I nodded. "And the leg?" I asked. He hesitated, then pulled up the scan. "The fracture is complex. You're looking at least 8 weeks in a full cast, then another 4 in a boot." My stomach dropped. "You won't be able to walk normally for a while. No stairs. No driving. You'll need assistance, constant assistance, for at least the first week after discharge." My apartment flashed through my mind. 3rd floor. No elevator. Paul. Then the reality hit. Even if he was there, he wouldn't have helped. Not really. That night, Danielle sat beside my bed while I stared at the ceiling. "You're not going back there," she said. It wasn't a question. "I know." "You can stay with me," she added. "Guest rooms on the first floor." I turned my head slightly, ignoring the pain. "You sure?" She gave me a look. "Nancy, you saved someone's life and nearly lost your own. The least I can do is make sure you don't have to crawl up 3 flights of stairs to sleep." A small laugh escaped me, the first real one in days. "Okay," I said quietly. "Okay." Paul came back exactly 1 week later, right on schedule. Like he said he would. I was sitting up in bed, forcing myself through hospital food that tasted like disappointment, when the door opened. And there he was. Tan. Relaxed. Glowing. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't almost died. "Babe," he said, smiling, dropping his bag. "I missed you." I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, I didn't feel relief. I felt distance. Cold. Clear distance. "Trip looked fun," I said. His smile faltered. "I was just trying to make the best of a bad situation." "Of course you were." He shifted. "You don't have to be like this." I set my fork down slowly. "I'm getting discharged tomorrow." "Great," he said quickly. "I'll take you home." "I'm not going home." He blinked. "What?" "I can't do stairs," I said calmly. "Doctor's orders." He frowned. "Well, we'll figure something out." "I already did," I replied. "I'm staying with Danielle." Silence. Thick. Heavy. "You're choosing her over me?" he asked. I met his eyes. "No," I said quietly. "I'm choosing myself." And for the first time since the accident, I saw something shift in his expression. Not guilt. Not regret. Something closer to panic. Because deep down, he was starting to realize, this time, I wasn't going to wait for him to catch up. The next morning, Danielle signed my discharge papers while I sat there, still processing how quickly everything had changed. A week ago, I had a boyfriend, an apartment, a routine. Now, I had crutches, a cast that ran from my toes to my hip, and a clarity I couldn't unsee. Paul didn't come, not for the discharge, not to help me leave. He sent a text. "Busy this morning. Let me know when you're settled." I read it once. Then I locked my phone. That was the moment something inside me shut off completely. Danielle's house was nothing fancy. A small 2-story place in the suburbs, warm, lived in, filled with little signs of someone who actually cared about the space they occupied. She had already set everything up before we arrived. Guest room on the first floor, fresh sheets, medication schedule taped to the wall, even a chair positioned perfectly so I could sit and shower without falling. "You didn't have to do all this," I told her. She shrugged. "Yeah, I did. No performance. No need for recognition. Just showing up." The first week was brutal. I couldn't do anything on my own. Getting out of bed felt like a full-body negotiation with pain. Every movement sent sharp reminders through my ribs and leg that I wasn't in control anymore. Danielle helped with everything. Food, medication, even just sitting with me when the nights got too quiet. Meanwhile, Paul sent messages. At first, casual. "Hope recovery's going okay?" Then slightly annoyed. "You're not answering?" Then defensive. "I feel like you're overreacting." By the third day, I blocked him, not out of anger, but because I finally understood something simple. You don't argue with someone who already showed you who they are. Recovery became routine. Pain. Exercise. Repeat. Physical therapy 3 times a week. A woman named Jackie handled my sessions. She had 0 patience for excuses and even less sympathy for self-pity. "Pain is part of healing," she'd say, while pushing my leg just a little further than I thought I could handle. "You want your life back? Earn it." So I did. Slowly. Painfully. But consistently. Work didn't abandon me either. My company activated full disability coverage immediately. D1 10,000 a month while I recovered. My boss called every week, not to check deadlines, to check me. They even promoted me on paper while I was still on crutches, so when I returned, I'd step into a higher position with a salary increase waiting. It felt unreal, because for the first time, I saw the difference clearly. People who value you don't disappear when things get hard. About a month later, Danielle drove me back to the apartment. I needed closure, not emotionally, logistically. The place looked abandoned, trash overflowing, dishes stacked in the sink, the air stale, heavy with neglect. Paul had moved out, but not cleanly. He'd taken the expensive things, left the mess. Typical. I stood there on my crutches, taking it all in. "This is what you were holding on to," Danielle said quietly. I nodded. "Yeah." And for the first time, I didn't feel loss. I felt relief. I didn't renew the lease, didn't argue over the deposit, didn't chase him for anything he took. I let it all go, because I finally understood. Peace is more valuable than getting even. 2 months later, I bought a house. Small, single floor, no stairs. That was non-negotiable now. I put everything in my name. Everything. Because I had learned my lesson. Not about love, but about access. Who deserves it? Who doesn't? My leg healed slowly. 8 weeks in a cast. Then a boot. Then finally, walking again. A slight limp at first, but it faded. Just like everything else eventually does. If you let it. I heard about Paul through mutual connections. Not because I cared, but because news like that travels. His trip with Olivia didn't end well. Apparently, living together was different than healing on a beach. Arguments, money issues. She kicked him out after 2 weeks. Then he bounced between friends, then family, then whoever would tolerate him. The car? Repossessed. Of course. Once I stopped paying, he didn't. Not surprising. But the real truth? I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel revenge. I felt nothing. And that's how I knew I was truly done. 8 months later, I saw him again. At a hardware store. I was there buying materials for a fence I was building in my backyard. He looked smaller somehow. Not physically. Just diminished. "Nancy," he said, like he wasn't sure he had the right to say my name anymore. "Paul." There was an awkward pause. Then he smiled. That same old smile. "You look good." "I am." He shifted, clearly uncomfortable. "You know, if things had gone differently, we could have worked it out." I studied him for a moment. Really looked. And all I saw was who he had always been. "I was in the ICU," I said calmly. "And you chose a vacation." His expression tightened. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." Silence. Heavy. Final. I nodded once, then turned and walked away. No anger. No drama. Just done. That night, I sat on my porch. The air was warm, quiet, peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not because everything had gone right, but because I had finally stopped holding on to what was wrong. Some things in life, you don't get refunds for. But sometimes, that's exactly what saves you.